Welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, then let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with the following from Sky Sports, where they've had the following to say in an article that they've done, saying that Manchester United bosses are quietly satisfied with the progress after securing three straight wins for the first time in 18 months, but know there is still much to do before the men's team can compete regularly at the top of the table. The team's recent run of impressive results has not been met with over-celebrations in the executive office at the Carrington training ground. Rather than, it has reassured the club hierarchy that the tough decisions taken are starting to have an impact on the pitch and strengthen their resolve to continue with their long-term plans. I'm just going to pause there. So obviously, a lot's been going on at United, specifically around the hierarchy and the changes behind the scenes. One of the things they wanted to do was change the culture of the club. They've been looking at, obviously, we've removed some players that maybe didn't have the right attitude or weren't part of the future with the bomb squad, etc. in the summer. Also, the staff changes, the job losses, like everything like that, the entire change of everything that's happened since Ineos has came out, which has been huge. So Sky are effectively saying that they're, now that they're starting to believe that they're starting to see the results of that by the performances, and obviously the results dictate everything, don't they? So they're bound to be a bit happier now than what they were, a few weeks ago when we had all the, after the Brentford game, basically, when we had all the shenanigans around Amorim and everything on his future and stuff. But interestingly, though, on the change of culture, Peter Hall from iPaper did a really good piece, actually, saying that the new Ineos-led culture ensures everyone gets on with everyone. No one is left out of social events, with unlikely bromances forming. Xerxes and Bruno Fernandes have become close ever since bonding on the club's much maligned post-season tour of Malaysia and Hong Kong. And then it goes on to say that Matheus Cunha and Luke Shaw, hardly typical bedfellows, have struck up a strong friendship, while Diego Dallo and Benjamin Sesko are seen spending more and more time together. Dallo helping the new arrival with his preparation and recovery, one source added. So there's been a few, little things like that can make a big difference. And that was one of the biggest shifts in momentum, wasn't it, in the summer? And that's what we heard from everybody, from Wilcox, Barada, Rúben Amorim himself, everybody. The change in the culture was seen as the one of the most critical things that we did in the summer, as well as the recruitment. But also with the recruitment, though, it was recruiting the right profile of players as well, not just in terms of Premier League, but the right personalities with the right attitude and the right mentality as well. Because the aim is, I've said this on a previous video, the aim is to bring in the new players with the right mentality, to bring the players up to their level. The problem with the United in the past is we've seen too often we bring in players that maybe don't have the right personality or not quite the right characters, where they get dragged down to the level of the existing players. And I think we are starting to see a little bit of that with Matheus Cunha being, like, I think even though he's only got one goal this season, the one against Brighton, I think he's had a massive impact on the squad and on the team as well. Like, his performances, he's been better than what the data and the numbers suggest anyway. And Brian and Mbeumo been outstanding. But even if you go to Saint-Lemons as well, I think he's been a calming influence at the back, and I think his personality is rubbing off on the defense and the players as well, because he is such a calming influence. There's no panic. There's no like shit in the bed every time the ball goes near him. There's a confidence since Saint-Lemons has come in as well. And even with Benjamin Sesko, I think Benjamin Sesko's got the right personality and attitude, and he seems to be growing as a United player as well. What has he got? 2 goals and 1 assist in his last 3 starts for United. So he's starting to show his character as well. So I think that's what the Sky Sports or report is alluding to. The fact is that they're starting to hopefully see the benefits of doing that, which is why they're still going to take the long-term approach rather than knee-jerk reactions and bowing down to the media pressure around sacking Amorim and stuff like that as well. Just going back to Saint-Lemons, I've seen this interesting stat as well from Data MBs that Saint-Lemons versus Premier League goalkeepers per 90 minutes. So in terms of long passes, he's first, progressive passes first, defensive duels 1 first, goals prevented 2nd, passes into the final third 2nd, saves 3rd, and save percentage 4th. So he's had 3 games and already he's amongst the best goalkeepers in the league on the numbers as well, and long may that continue. I think he's been such an important player to bring in at the right moment as well, because we were under pressure for this ahead of the Sunderland game. I think teams were exposing our weakness, putting balls in the box, crosses into the area, challenging Bayindir in goal. And just created such a nervousness around the place, didn't it? But Saint-Lamons, as he comes in, has been absolutely banging, in my opinion. Long may that continue. But going back to the Sky report, it also says in there that Rúben Amorim has targeted a place in Europe for next season, and certainly Chief Executive Omar Barada and Director of Football Jason Wilcox would be satisfied with a top 6 finish. As Amorim continues to develop his squad, no one at the club is getting too high when the team are on a positive run, or too low when results are disappointing. So, there is a level-headedness to what's going on behind the scenes, which is what you want and what you expect. Obviously, we're fans, we get emotional, and when we lose, it's the worst thing in the world. When we win, it's the best thing in the world, and that's our right as fans to sort of do. So you do need that sort of calming influence behind the scenes as well. And I've started to think, I wonder if, obviously Sir Jim coming out with his interview back in Rúben Amorim, I think that's had a big result, a big impact on the performances and stuff as well, because not because I think the players were downing tool for Amorim, but I think the players actually like Amorim, and they don't want him to be sacked because they don't want to go through the whole cycle again. And maybe that was playing on their minds. We're like, well, and there was a bit of nervousness around them, but now they've got that sort of assurance and backing from Sir Jim to say, actually, look, Rúben Amorim's not going anywhere. I'm happy to give him 3 years. That's unrealistic. Everyone's, if he loses the next 10 games, he'll lose his job. That's football for you. But I wonder if that took a bit of pressure off the players as well. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. But going back to that report, top 6, that's always been the mantra, though. That's always been, even in pre-season, the aim for this season is back into European football. So I don't necessarily think that's anything breaking. Rúben Amorim said it himself. We need to get back into Europe, which is the main aim for this season. In the report, though, it does say that crucially, while there's an abundant noise outside Old Trafford calling for some heavy investment in the squad in January, among the executives there is a determination to stick to the plan. United are not expected to spend big in the new year. A new defensive midfield player is the priority to strengthen the squad after last summer's focus on attacking areas, but because a number 6 is likely to mean a significant level of investment with Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton and Carlos Baleba all under consideration, it is much more likely to be addressed in the summer as part of a broader review of the squad and the overall wage bill. So Sky are also saying that while, we want to go for signings in January, that might not be the right time as well, and that's probably fair. We don't know whether we've got the budget, but then also who's selling these sort of players in January, especially for those sort of figures and fees that you're talking about. What the news yesterday was 120 million pounds for Elliot Anderson. I don't know what Palace would want for Adam Wharton, but I'm going to assume it'll be a pretty penny, and we know the price with Carlos Baleba there as well. So, but we'll just need to wait and see. I think if a player becomes available, they'll go for him. But if it's not their top target, then maybe we won't. Maybe we will just look at other options. I don't know whether we're going to go for short-term options though as well, because Ineos didn't want to do that last summer neither. They didn't want to, get in loans or anything. They were like, no, if it's the right player, it's the sort of profile of player that we're looking at anyway, then maybe we'll go for them if they're available in January. But if not, maybe they're happy to wait till this summer. But we'll just have to see how it all plays out. Now, sticking with the midfield then, Fabrizio Romano's come out with this interesting piece regarding Angelo Stiller. So this is from Fabrizio Romano in Gimme Sport, where he said that Manchester United's mission for 2026 will be to bring in an important midfielder, as that is considered one of the priorities by head coach Rúben Amorim, as well as club directors and management. They are aligned on this target for the upcoming year. And then he goes on to say that whether they make a signing in January or the summer will depend on opportunities that arise. The winter window is usually more complicated in terms of finding top players available for a move. So Romano makes the good point around top targets. One of the names being linked to Manchester United is Angelo Stiller, a central midfielder who has been shining for years at Stuttgart and is also part of the German national team. A quality player, he is ready to make an instant impact, but also has great potential in terms of future development. And then he says, what's the truth about this situation? So sources confirm the appreciation by the Red Devils is as Stiller has been on their shortlist of players monitored for years. And then he goes on to say that director of football, Jason Wilcox, is also understood to be one of the influential figures around Europe who has monitored Stiller more over recent years. So Manchester United are surely very attentive to him and his developments. That's interesting that Jason Wilcox has been, monitoring Stiller for a while, and obviously he's our technical director now. So there's an interesting one from Romano. And then he goes on to say that Stiller is one of the names on the list, but not the only one. Is Brighton and Hove Albion's Carlos Baleba, and more players are also being followed. So we can't consider Stiller the only option available at all. Let me move this over a little bit so you can see it. Sources add that Stuttgart can buy out the release clause in Stiller's current contract until June 28 for as little as €2 million. They are expected to do so. In that case, negotiations could take place for a fee around 50 or 60 million euros, so 43 or 53 million pound. But it's very difficult to imagine a transfer in January. It is way more likely in the summer. Manchester United have not made any decision yet on their favourite target, while there are more clubs keen on Stiller for sure. He is one to watch in the near future. So Fabrizio Romano again linking us with Angelo Stiller, suggesting that there is some kind of connection there, maybe with Jason Wilcox liking the player. That's interesting. Obviously, Christopher Vivell will have links with the Bundesliga from his time at RB Leipzig as well. The fee involved, it says there, 44 to 53 million pounds is a lot cheaper than what we're being quoted for Elliot Anderson, Carlos Baleba, players like that. I like Stiller. I think he's a really good profile of player. For me, would be more though of a Bruno Fernandes type replacement, because he's very progressive on the ball carrying, ball progression, passes and things like that. I don't know if he wouldn't necessarily be a Casemiro replacement, but could he be one of the, because we're bringing in two midfielders, that's the narrative going around at the moment, is we want two midfielders. Could you get Stiller as your sort of Bruno understudy to play in that sort of 8 attacking midfield role, the one that gets on the ball and can progress it and make the passes forward to Cunha and Mbeumo and Sesko and dictate the tempo of the play in that regards, but then also somebody else to be like a Casemiro replacement, whether that's Carlos Baleba, Elliot Anderson, although I think Anderson's maybe more like a Stiller, more of a box-to-box midfielder for me personally. Adam Morton springs out to mind as well as somebody that can come in and be a little bit more of a defensive shield. That's maybe what they're looking at, especially if they're looking to bring in two. I think they're going to look to bring in a partnership that they can develop and use going forward as well. But Angelo Stiller is an interesting profile, and again, it's not the first, not the last time we're going to be linked with him, because he is a quality ball playing midfielder and definitely somebody to pay attention to, especially because that's like the second or third time that Romano's come out suggesting that actually maybe United are interested in Stiller. And as it says in the report, if Jason Wilcox specifically is like Stiller, maybe that one has some legs. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below, as I'm sure that you will. Stiller, good option, bad option? Give us your shouts down below. Now, he's not the only midfielder that we've been linked with, surprisingly, considering that's all the talk of the town at the moment. But this is a really interesting article that I read. So Man United scouts closely monitor Lille's Ayyoub Bouaddi amid growing European interest. So it says at just 18 years old, Bouaddi already plays with a calm and confidence of a seasoned midfielder. The Lille starlet, who has made his debut at 16, continues to rise rapidly in League One and has drawn the attention of scouts from across Europe. Manchester United in particular have taken close interest. Now, this is a really detailed article, as you can see. I'm not going to go through all of it. I'll see if I can link it in the comments below, though, so that you can check it out. But it says, United's interest has evolved from distant curiosity to active monitoring. Club scouts have attended numerous Lille fixtures, including the recent clash with Paris Saint-Germain, to evaluate Bouaddi in person. Those present were said to be impressed by his composure and tactical discipline against elite opposition, reinforcing the belief that he's capable of adapting to Premier League tempo. Christopher Vivell, United's director of recruitment, has been heavily involved in assessing Bouaddi's progress. Known for his success in identifying emergent talents at RB Leipzig and Chelsea, Vivell has been impressed by Bouaddi's mix of maturity, game intelligence, and technical precision. He reportedly views him as a player who could develop into a first-team regular at Old Trafford within a few years. So that's interesting if Christopher Vivell is seeing Bouaddi as that type of profile in midfielder. Does go on, though, to say that a number of teams are looking at this kid, because he does look like an exceptional talent. Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, all the big hitters, well, Aston Villa and Brighton on there, I suppose, but Real Madrid, Dortmund, Paris Saint-Germain, Juve, RB Leipzig, everybody is interested in him. It said, for a player who only turned 18 this year, that's remarkable attention, yet those who have followed his progress since his debut understand why. Bouaddi combines composure with intelligence, reads the game with precision, and dictates tempo like a player twice his age. And again, I'll see if I can link this in the description for you to go check out yourself if you want to read a little bit more around it. But the next thing I wanted to bring you is here, said, reports suggest Bouaddi could be available for around £40 million, though Lille are expected to push for more given his age, previous sales, and performance. So that's a really interesting report that come out. And when I read a report like that, because there's a lot of clickbait with United, right? We know that. There's a lot of bullshit with United. We know that as well. But when I see a report and it's actually quite detailed and quite thorough, then it leads me to believe that it's well thought out and it's well sort of and then it's well looked into and maybe well sourced like that, suggesting that maybe there's something in Bouaddi, or is a player that we're monitoring, that we're interested in, we're scouting as well. It doesn't mean we're going to go for him, because I'm sure at the moment, the way it feels to me with all the links and stuff is that we're still putting together our shortlist and looking at options, weighing up the prices, looking at availability, who wants to come, who doesn't want to come. Remember, the whole recruitment strategy is now going to be who wants to come to United, and if they don't, then we're just going to jog them on and move on to other targets. That was the big change in transfer policy in the summer that we saw with Mateus Cunha, Brian Mbeumo specifically as well. I think Sesko in the end wanted to come to United, going off of his recent comments and stuff. So it's a big change in that regards. But I think we are looking and putting together names. Whether we're going to get them in January, the reports are, depends on availability and price. If a player becomes available, so let's say hypothetically, for example, let's say Brighton get pissed off with Carlos Baleba and they're like, do you know what it is, actually, because he's not performing and because he's down tools, let's just bite the bullet, sell him and bring in replacements, then maybe United could make a move in that regard. So obviously it would depend on the price and everything like that. I'm just talking hypothetically here. Then maybe United would look to do something like that. Or if Adam Wharton decides, actually, I want to get into the World Cup squad, so I want to play for a higher profile team, or I want to move to a different club, then maybe they would go for that, or Angelo Stiller, whoever. If the opportunity comes up, they might go for it. But if not, I think they're just compiling their list together as well, which is why we're getting all these links, plus clickbait and plus bullshit as well. But give us your thoughts on Bouaddi. Again, good shout, bad shout. It's mad, isn't it? £40 million for Bouaddi, or thereabouts, and then you're talking 40 to 50 for Stiller. Both of those would probably cost you less than what's being quoted at the moment for Anderson or Carlos Baleba. So is that not is that the way they would go down? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it's interesting, isn't it? But yeah, give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, sticking with the midfield, there's been more links with Kobbie Mainoo going to potentially Napoli. So Napoli plan on testing Man United's reserve with a fresh move for Kobbie Mainoo in January. Antonio Conte believes he has tapped into a winning formula by offering frustrated, out of favour players at Old Trafford a new lease of life in southern Italy. Just as Scott McTominay and Rasmus Højlund have revived their careers, Napoli will try again for Mainoo in January, having shown interest in the 20-year-old this summer, according to Gazzetta dello Sport. The Italian publication report that successes of McTominay and Højlund for the Serie A leaders makes it a guarantee that the club will relaunch their attempts to recruit Mainoo. So again, but the sort of talk around at the moment is that United are not going to want to get rid of anyone in January because of AFCON, and we're going to need the squad rotation and certain players around that time. But if players come back early from AFCON, or the AFCON actually finishes before the transfer window ends in January, who knows? But Napoli were clearly interested in taking Kobbie Mainoo, maybe on loan, but we'll have to just wait and see how that develops. But give us your thoughts, would you? I mean, if we don't get a replacement, I don't think we're going to do anything in January with Mainoo, especially not in the midfield. If we're not bringing in a midfielder, then Mainoo's definitely not going to go. Xerxes, I think, is different because we do have other attacking options potentially up front. But again, if we're not going to get replacements, then maybe they will look to keep them. But would you loan Mainoo out in January if he's not getting minutes? For me, it just depends on who you're getting in. We'd need to bring in a midfielder. If we did get a midfielder in, then maybe that becomes a little bit more plausible. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens regarding that. But one player who is not coming back from loan is Jadon Sancho. Been a lot of noise around him potentially coming back. So this is from Chris Wheeler and Nave Sutton in the Mail saying that Jadon Sancho will not return to Manchester United before the end of the season. Confidential can reveal because his loan deal at Aston Villa does not have a break clause in January. Well done, United, for not including that. The 25-year-old winger is yet to start a Premier League game since leaving Rúben Amorim's bomb squad to join Villa in the summer. He found himself subbed on and off at the weekend. Off in the weekend win over Manchester City. Sancho has only played a total of 53 minutes in the Premier League for Villa, who agreed to cover 80% of his £250,000 a week wages. So one player who is not returning from loan will be Jadon Sancho, and hopefully we're just done with him in the summer, because there have been a few reports from different outlets suggesting that United might trigger the 1-year contract extension on Jadon Sancho. God, I hope not. Just get rid of him. He's an absolute waste, and I'm sick of talking about him as well. Just let his contract run out and just be gone with that absolute nightmare of a transfer, because it's just been, a disaster, hasn't it? It's been up there for me, our worst ever transfer, and we've had some bad ones, but for me, Jadon Sancho tops the lot of them, because attitude, everything that's happened around it has just been a complete and utter disaster for me personally. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below, as I am sure that you will. But give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.